to Bethlehem and had killed, slaughtered every boy 2 years old and younger, all to preserve his power. All of this is totally consistent with who Herod the Great was. One other thing about King Herod the Great before we move on is that he was also fond of monuments, building projects that attested to his ego and reputation. He rebuilt aqueducts, he refurbished the temple, he created new seaports, all in order to preserve his image. Herod was a despotic ruler concerned about ego and power, subject to fits of rage, willing to do anything and eliminate anyone who stood in the way of his ambition and power. So now we can understand the significance of that one throwaway line in the gospel, that they went back by another route. Why? They went back by another route. This is the smallest detail of the story, and yet it's the most important. They did not go back to Herod. They did not go back by way of Jerusalem. They went out of their way to return home by another route. And that decision bought enough time to save Jesus' life and to save history. That one small detail. Herod was defeated in his attempt to murder Jesus by their decision not to cooperate, not to go along. But that detail makes no sense unless you know who King Herod was and what he was willing to do, and how that one small act of not going along was enough to change history. They went back by another route. Now, to talk about a mean ruler of ambition and ego, subject to fits of rage, willing to eliminate anyone who gets in the way of his ambition, it's all too easy to draw some comparisons. What? I'm thinking about people in North Korea, people ruling Russia, no one too close to home. History does not repeat itself, but it certainly rhymes. When we look at callous policies, willing even to target children, when we think of the fact that in our own country, hundreds of children were separated from their parents and are still separated, I can't imagine the anguish of a parent who doesn't know where their baby is. And I can't imagine the scars inflicted upon the children who've been separated from their parents for so long. I think of the parents even now today who are anxiously trying to strategize and plan for who will take care of the custody of their children in case they are deported. How can you have those conversations and doing it in the name of security or ego or power? Unless we think that cruelty and killing and preservation of power are ancient stories only in the Bible, around this world, rulers have been willing to kill those that stand in their way. Tomorrow we celebrate the anniversary of an insurrection where crowds were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." and someone did nothing. They went back by another route. The lesson of the Epiphany for us today is the importance of small acts of non-cooperation that can make a huge difference. The Magi did not confront Herod. The Magi could not depose him. They could not remove him. They could not save all the babies of Bethlehem, but they did not go along. They resisted his attempts. They couldn't do everything, but they did something, and they did, and that decision changed history. The Bible is full of examples of people, everyday people, doing small things that make a difference and save lives. From the Hebrew midwives in the story of the Exodus, when Pharaoh gave the command that every newborn Hebrew was to be killed, and the Hebrew midwives made up some story saying, well, we couldn't carry out the order because, the Hebrew women are so strong, but that by the time we get there, the baby's already born. It's in Exodus chapter 1, in case you're looking. Or the story of the Good Samaritan, who overcame the prejudices of his time and came to the aid of a stranger and foreigner. Or the wise men, the Magi today, who simply by not going back changed the destiny of history. And in our own time, people like Rosa Parks, who by simply not giving up her seat inaugurated a revolution. People like John Lewis, who simply by crossing a bridge furthered a revolution. People like the college freedom riders, who by sitting down at lunch counters helped to change a nation. Yes, the story of the Epiphany is the story not of a star, but of light coming in the world, and of people of courage doing small things that make a difference. They went back to their country by another route. As we begin this new year, when we celebrate resolutions and we are bombarded by commercials advertising free gym memberships and the latest diet thing that will get your body in perfect shape by summer. As we think about resolutions, we might think about the question that the wise men put before us. What small act might we be called upon that can make a difference? As we celebrate the Eucharist, we receive the strength and the courage to not go along, and the courage for those small acts that can make a difference in a world. Let the church say,